Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time it is, wherever you are. I am Aneesh de Vos, and we are back from holiday. And apart from our amazing guest, we have the most amazing, looking a little gorgeous today, David. I hear you've been on your holidays. It is the only, the wonderful, just David Buckler. Doesn't that make some people's spines tingle? See, Clare Lawrence-Simms, our amazing guest, is already giving David the clap that he deserves. So I didn't need to do it today. David, are you all right?
I am very well. Thank you for that introduction. As usual, a real eye-rolling session. I just want to say it's good to be back, and hello, everyone. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, me too. The reason I'm also looking forward to it, just in case there's any weird sounds, this is Agnes the cat. Normally, Agnes the cat would be with my daughter, but Agnes the cat is with me because my daughter is away. Sometimes she does scratch her collar, so I'm just warning people. Okay, but enough of us and Agnes the cat. Clare Lawrence-Simms. Now, I found Clare as I find people on Twitter, and I was greatly enamoured by what it is that Clare does. And Clare takes care of something called the Community Harmony Scarf, which she's actually going to tell us about. And Clare, you've said, haven't you, that through Community Connections today, I love that she's giggling, we've been giggling a lot before. Through Community Connections today, you want to start a new section of the scarf with the theme of the irrepressible human spirit. Wasn't sure if I could say it. So, Clare, I know you're impressed, David. So, Clare, tell us about this, because because I hear that you're in cafes, you know, different people's schools, youth centres. This is not just a one-woman show, is it? That other people are involved in this.
Absolutely. I mean, I have to say thank you, Agnes, because I do make lots of weird sounds, and I can just blame all my weird sounds on Agnes. It's Agnes, not me. Yeah, I mean, the Community Harmony Scarf, it has a life of its own. It absolutely does, and it's become what it's become and what it is becoming thanks to everybody who gets involved with it. And it just does signify for me how incredible we human beings are. And when you put us all together and allow each of us the space, the time, the support to be able to feel comfortable, to be ourselves, you put all that together and it's just incredible what it can create. So, I mean, the Community Harmony Scarf started 4 years ago, came out of some work that I was doing at a local youth centre with young people on emotional resilience. We've got a community event coming up, the idea of which was to just bring together people in the community to just talk and listen to each other, share food. And I was involved in the organisation of that, and I had this idea. We were doing work with the young people based around ribbons, and the ribbons, I had this bag of ribbons, beautiful ribbons, all very different. And the point we were trying to make with the children is that people are like ribbons. So here they all are, these ribbons. They're all very, very different. They're all beautiful in their own way. You can do amazing things with them. Which ribbon would you be? And of course, children they launch with it, and you just go to amazing, amazing places and then just have those wonderful conversations. And I suddenly thought, well, why don't we ask everybody involved in the event, everybody who comes, to choose a ribbon? I'll knit it into a section of scarf, and the idea was it would go on display in our local library along with the story of the event. And so I did that, and it worked really well. And it took me a long time to knit that first section, about 9 months. And while I was doing it, I became aware of the fact that it was turning into something else, that it was just allowing people, encouraging people to talk, to connect. And we just I had this conversation. I actually got social media drew Radio Leicester, BBC Radio Leicester to me, and I was interviewed on their programme when I'd only got about a metre and a half, 2 metres of it. And their interviewer said, well, how long are you going to make this scarf? Yeah. And I thought, oh, I'd never thought about that. And that little question grew and grew in my mind. And I thought, well, I'm going to carry on. I'm not just going to finish it and bung it in the library. I'm going to see what I can do with this. And I happened to be at a bus stop, and I'd got to the bus stop and I was talking to an 8-year-old girl, and she'd chosen a ribbon, and she said, well, how long are you going to make it? And I said, oh, I don't know. How long do you think we could make it? Do you think we could make it long enough to go around the world? And she said, you know, in that really lovely, serious way that they do, you know, well, if we believe we can, we can. And I thought, right, that's it. I'm going to do it. You know, it's like, I had no idea how big the world is. If anybody, you know, it is apparently 40,075 kilometres. Now, I'm not good with maths. So it's like, well, yeah, there you are. That's all right. It's like, it didn't compute what it actually meant. And then it just sort of started growing, and the idea of, I thought, well, you can't knit it all in one big length. So it's gonna have to be,
you've got a big enough house for you to fit it in.
And it gets very you know, obviously it gets very heavy, it's very delicate. Yeah. So what happened was that it seemed that conversations that I would have at particular times with different groups of people would be around a similar theme, and so I thought, well, why not give the titles of the scarf sections themes, and so that started, and now I think this is about the 220th. I should have checked before I came on, but it's definitely in the 220s, the number of sections, some of which are complete, some of which are ongoing. And so yeah, I've got over 300 meters of it altogether.
Wow.
So, yeah. Most of it, some of it is in there are sections in cafes, there are in a school, and in the youth centre, but the vast majority of it is in my house, in drawers and in cases and in the loft and in my office, and it's like, you know, it's just everywhere. But at some point, a few months after that, I mean, what I do, I am an ex-school teacher. And I have a history myself of anxiety and depression, and I couldn't cope with the pressurised environment of modern schools. So about 10 years ago, I left teaching and decided to train as a holistic therapist. But my passion was always with learning young people, with education. And so I've been developing that. And one of the things that I am particularly, that is a particular passion of mine, is young men's mental health. Being the mother of sons myself who are now in their early 20s, and just listening to the experiences that they've had, that their friends have had, I recognise just how challenging the world is. I know it's challenging for everybody, and you know, as a girl, you know, sort of growing up in the 60s, 70s, 80s and whatnot, it's certainly, you know, been very challenging for me. But I do think that in a lot of ways we've worked hard to redress the balance, the gender balance, and it seemed to me that the young girls that I would be working with, whilst they're still facing an awful lot of challenges, you know, we're still, you know, fighting to get, you know, equity, equality and so forth, but they seem to be a lot more self-assured, a lot more clear on their path and where they're going, whereas it seemed to me that young men seem caught up in a place where it's like the young men that I mix with want to be decent human beings. You know, they're more want to be in touch with their feelings. They want to do well. They want to move away from misogyny and the patriarchy and all that kind of thing, but they don't quite know how, and they're sort of stuck in a kind of a lost sort of place. And a few years ago, my son got me interested in Leicester City Football Club, because it was something that he was really very, you know, he was a season ticket holder. He was very you know, he followed their fortunes. They were very important in his life. And this was the season before they took the championship, the Premier League. Sorry, they took the Premier, you know, topped the Premier League. And I was fascinated because a lot of my work is in confidence, it's in life coaching, it's in, you know, encouraging people to explore who they are, you know, work themselves out, build their emotional core and foundations. And it was just so fascinating that Leicester City were, well, they were labelled losers. They were going to be relegated. There was no doubt about it. You know, they were going to lose their place in the Premier League, and then they didn't. Something happened, and me, you know, I thought somebody somewhere has talked to that team, has helped that team to begin to believe in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how it was done. I know that with the Thai connection, I've heard there was talk of Buddhist monks coming in and mindfulness meditation and things like that. I don't know what the truth is, but the next season, practically all the way through the season, they topped the Premier League, and they were still laughed at. Nobody believed in them. It was amazing, because the vast majority of the time they were number one in the number one spot, and people were still dismissing them, saying they're not going to do it. They're laughing, they're a joke, and they did it. And what that did for our city, it brought us together. I mean, Leicester is a very diverse, multicultural place anyway, and even those people that aren't interested in sport, we all came together. And the day that we were awarded the cup, and then the day that we had the celebrations afterwards, everybody was part of it. Didn't matter who you were, where you were from. It was just this amazing, incredible energy, this can-do energy, and I just loved that. And so I had this idea that I would like to see if I could make the scarf long enough to wrap around King Power Stadium. Yeah, and I wanted it to be outside, because the idea of wrapping it around and enclosing everybody in this thing that's been created through people, and through everybody in the community. And also at the same time, it is definitely, you know, the project does support mental health. It's just, I'm waffling now, I'm sorry about that. But anyway,
it's gorgeous waffle.
I contacted the club, and at that point I had about 7 meters of it, and I said what I wanted to do, and they were very, very kind to me. Obviously they're contacted all the time by community projects, and you know, this is one woman and her knitting needles and this big dream, and they were so lovely, and they gave me a guest pass and allowed me into the stadium, and that was amazing for me to be able to go, you know, sort of pitch side. Not it was out of season, but to, you know, sort of like walk this hallowed ground, and but nobody knew how big the stadium was out around the outside. They have all the dimensions of the inside of the pitch and everything, so I had to take my little step counter and walk around the outside. And I've worked out it's approximately 730 meters. So
you're not far off.
Well, the thing is, the only time during this that I've ever wavered was at that point when I thought, I've got 7 meters and it's taken me a year to get this. 730 meters, I can't do this. But there was a guy that was showing me around, and he said, of course you can. You know, of course you can. And I thought, right, okay, all I've got to do is just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Just not keep thinking about it. Just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. Not worry about how it's going to happen. Or people are often asking me, you know, when's it going to happen? What's going to, you know, what? And the truth is, I don't know. I don't even really know if Leicester City Football Club will allow me to do the putting it around, you know, because this is going to be a big thing. But it's like, I'm going to get enough to go round. Whether they put it round or not is entirely different. So that was part of the whole thing, is like, okay, we're just going to keep doing this. And so that was, you know, over 4 years ago. I calculated that at the rate I was knitting then, it would probably take me about 15 years.
Right.
Things then did speed up. So, it's taken me 4 years now to get halfway. So, could take another 4 years. It depends. The more people I can get involved in it,
Yeah.
the quicker it's going to happen.
Fantastic.
So here we are. But one of my sons is just an amazing. Both my sons are very, very creative, and he's a real optimist, can-do person. He said, "Look, Mum, what about focusing on what you've got already, and small targets?" And we realised that I've actually got enough that were I to climb to the top of the Eiffel Tower and join all the sections together, unfurl it from the top, it would hit the bottom. And that was, French was the subject I taught. I love France, I'm a Francophile. So I thought, yes, I like the idea of that. I could drop this scarf down the Eiffel Tower. And then I thought, well, hang on a sec, like Leicester's famous landmark is a clock tower that we have in the centre of the city, and I have actually got enough of it already now for the tower to be able to wear it, for it to be sort of crisscrossed around it in the way that they put tinsel around it at Christmas, so it would go from the top to the bottom all the way around, and there'd be lots to spare at the bottom. There's enough to do the same, I believe, with Nelson's column, the Statue of Liberty. And it's like
the world really is your oyster.
and it's just incredible when you say these things to people, the response that you get, it's just astounding. And this project, every step of the way, it's unfolded, it's grown because of that irrepressible human spirit. People have said, what about this? Why don't you do this? You could do this, you could do that. And it has been a struggle. I am obsessed with it. Thankfully, my close family and friends are on board with it and supportive of it. Other people can't quite understand it, get their heads around it. But it's definitely, the scarf is running the show.
Do you know what? I love stories of knitting. My mum's mum, a Newark lady, smoked 60 a day. Talk like that. And she literally, we would go one weekend, and I remember a partner of my mum's wanted an Aran jumper. That woman could knit like nothing you've seen. And this was a 6-foot guy. The next weekend we went, she'd knitted this jumper. She had a fag out the corner of her mouth, and somehow she puffed it in. Every so often those knitting needles would stop, and then she'd flick it on the hearth. It never went on. There was a little trail, never cleaned a house. It was amazing. And so, do you know what? I don't knit. I was the daughter that said, I'm not having any of that. But the girls and my mum and my grandma were these prolific knitters. So I'm rather excited about this. David, what are you feeling about this? Are you a knitter?
I'm not, but Vicky's a prolific. I can't get the words out.
It's your turn today.
Prolific knitter. In fact, we have a corridor that runs front to back of the house. Call it what you like, a lean-to. It's more than that. It's part of the house. And I put up 4 sections of shelves, each about 20 feet long, for my tools and bits and pieces. And guess what? It's full of boxes of wool.
I think that we found you a knitter there, Claire. I think that David could ask Vicky.
I'm not a knitter. My mum, the stories you're telling really resonate with me, because my mum was a knitter until arthritis took away the ability to do that. My mum taught me to knit. My mum, like many knitters, she's very neat, she's very precise, her work is beautiful. Well, here I was, this clumsy child. I couldn't, it was messy, I couldn't get the tensions right, I didn't have the concentration to follow a pattern. The only thing I could ever knit were these like little squares that we used to use. We had one of those whistling kettles on the hob. I used to knit loads of those to hold that. But she taught me how to do the stitches. And the thing is with the scarf is the whole project, it has no rules. This is really important to me, that there's no rules. I think a lot of difficulties in life are caused by us being forced to follow a particular pattern and that doesn't sit well with us. So it's like, I've got my style of knitting. Other people who knit who are knitting have their own style, and that's fine, and we change, and it's all part of the beauty, which my mum can't really quite get her head round. You know, she'll say things like, oh, you can't knit with velvet. Mum, I've knitted with velvet. You can't knit with fur. I've knitted with fur. You can't knit with feathers. I've knitted.
Can you knit with feathers?
It's a mess. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The trick with ribbon knitting, the way that I do it, is just keep the stitches loose, which is anathema, I think, to a wool knitter, because you keep the stitches small and neat and tight. Yeah. I keep them loose. Keep that way you can shove anything round and into it and all sorts. But one of the things as well for me, I like changing things. I like making new things. I'm very creative, and I like challenging things. And I really love the idea of taking knitting, which is traditionally a feminine thing, and here I am, this middle-aged woman, knitting a scarf that's going around a football stadium, which is traditionally a male thing, and the point of it is young men. And actually what I'm finding is that the more that we talk to each other, no matter how different we seem, the more we have in common. And I'm finding that, you know, the experiences I'm going through, and a lot of middle-aged women I'm finding are going through at the moment, our circumstances are different, but the emotions we're experiencing are very similar to those kinds of chaotic and not knowing our place, not knowing what's happened, not knowing how we're going to cope, that is happening to a lot of young men. And I do love it. I love it that, you know, we have these stereotypical ideas, but I've taken, you know, I don't go into the matches myself, but I'll sometimes, you know, I'll go down and loiter around outside on match day.
What with your knitting?
Yes, with my knitting, and see who comes and talks to me. And actually, sometimes the ribbons that young men, boys are choosing, they're choosing those flowery, sparkly, fluffy, flamboyant things. That you know, with you know, that there are certain people who are just choosing a plain one, and they'll put a blue one in for Leicester City. So I always have to have plenty of royal blue ribbons. They'll put a blue one in for Leicester City. They'll do that. They don't want to know anything about the rest of it. But the thing is, it's like when you start talking, it's just amazing where it goes. So
I'm just flabbergasted by you, Claire. I love your energy. I love the fact that you phoned up Leicester City and said, oh, hello, I'd like to knit a scarf and wrap it round. And actually that they, I mean, I have some wacky ideas, but this is gold. They actually responded to you. And David, I'm going to hand it over to you, because, you know, if anybody has the experience of male mental health, that's going to be you. If anybody has that experience of male emotional distress, that's going to be you.
Yeah, I guess so, being male.
That's what I was thinking. I was kind of winding it there.
No, the first thing I'm going to say is I don't think Leicester City would dare deny you the opportunity of wrapping this scarf around the stadium. But yeah, I mean, you surprised me by your interest in young males' mental health. But when I learned that you had 2 young sons, I mean, that obviously makes a great deal of difference. I can see why now. And yeah, it's something that's dear to my heart, and I think you're absolutely right. Young men basically are confused as to who they need to be in the world. And there's lots of reasons why and wherefore, I guess, and lots yet to be discovered. But yeah, I love the way you've got young men talking and joining in and actually opening up a dialogue, which is initially the most difficult thing to do, especially about something so personal. So, yeah, I'm right behind you.
One of the mottos of Leicester City, and I think the quote actually comes from Walt Disney, but it's our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. And actually, I am very, very socially awkward, very, very by nature, very, very shy. You know, and it's like, I don't know, you just sometimes you get this, something's bigger than you are, and you just think, right, I'm gonna, this is important, this is something that I am going to do. And it's like, I can take being embarrassed, I can take being rejected, but I'm gonna try. And in a way, because it's been a very slow burner, and there's been so many challenges to it, because I mean, here and there I've had little tiny bits of funding and help and things, but largely I do this now, it's voluntary, it's in my own time, which I'm not saying this like, oh look at me, but it's just I know that I'm very privileged in that I'm comfortable enough at the moment to be able to devote time to this. My husband supports it in all ways. Ribbons are not cheap, and you know, it is kept going by people who will give donations, who will donate ribbons, who also just keep my spirits up, keep it going. And again, that is that aspect of the irrepressible human spirit. It's like, I won't be told I can't do it. I won't be told it's not possible. You know, I'm going to achieve this somehow, or die trying. And I think, I do think that is something that is contagious, and I think, you know, at the moment we're living in a time that is very scary. It's very turbulent. There's a lot of change. There's a lot of fear. There's quite rightly, there's so much to be frightened of, and that is contagious. But that irrepressible human spirit is contagious as well. And I have, in times in my life, at certain points in my life, I have been suicidal. I have been in that dark place. I'm quite comfortable talking about it now, because I am so grateful that I had help and support to be able to get out of that place. And the things that I've managed to, the way that my life has gone since, has made me so glad that I didn't actually take that decision that I was pondering to take my own life, because, you know, it's just what's happened to me since. I mean, this is 20 years ago, has just been incredible. I'm not saying it's been easy. It has been really, really hard, and continues to be hard. But I've discovered techniques, I've discovered people support, a whole network of things to help me, and I want to return that favour. And I think, you know, this is what this is about. It's you know, I absolutely, one of my favourite songs is the Chumbawamba. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to keep me down. And I think, you know, that is how I am. I mean, sometimes I do still have dark moments. I do get absolutely exhausted. I do overwhelm myself and other people as well with the things I do. You know, I quite often get things wrong and embarrass myself and embarrass others and stuff. But it's like, okay, let's keep going. Let's do this.
I'm always in awe and in huge respect at the privilege of these conversations on community connections. So Claire, do you know what? Thank you for your clear vulnerability and extreme honesty in sharing that, you know, you too have had a period of suicidal thoughts, and that in actual fact that you, David, you always talk about this, when you learn something you want to kind of give it back, don't you? So you clearly, what you've learned about yourself in that, and that, you know, other people are there to support you. Thank you for sharing that, because those comments, those moments make such a difference. And you know what, I may even try and do a bit of knitting myself, because I want to support your scarf, because you deserve it.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think there's this whole thing that we have as well of this embarrassment, this feeling that things need to be perfect, that it's not good enough. Anything that you produce will be perfect. It's part of it, and I love, some of my favorite parts of the scarf are the things that have gone wrong, either myself or others, you know, and it's like when it does, you know, when holes appear in it, and somebody finds a way to mend it. It is very much, I love the idea. Is it the Japanese vases?
Yes, it is.
So when they break, they mend them with gold. And
that's
it's
beauty.
like, they are the things that that make it what it is. So it's like, I would be absolutely delighted. Now, I've said that to start this scarf, you will choose, and I am definitely going to find one of my cat ribbons to go in for Agnes.
Agnes, oh, she's asleep on the chair now, but I tell you,
that is wonderful. She's been so good. That is so nice. So I have a huge collection of ribbons, and there's absolutely no rules as to what you choose or why you choose. You don't have to say anything about it. You can tell me things. You can not tell me things. You can choose things for yourself, for other people. You can do whatever you like. But it's been absolutely astounding to me to discover just what fantastic creations there are in ribbon form. Just about anything that you can think of, there's a ribbon somewhere with it. And if there isn't, you can put together two ribbons and make do, create something. And I think one of the things over lockdown for me, I was very blessed to have been furloughed, which I wasn't expecting. And I used my furlough money to discover eBay and the amazing gross grain themed ribbons that you can get through there. And so it's like, since lockdown, the beauty of the scarf has just taken on new dimensions. So anyway, shut up, Claire. The thing is, it's like,
please don't.
I've got colours, I've got patterns, I've got sparkles, I've got plain. What would start the irrepressible human spirit?
Over to you, David.
The irrepressible human spirit.
What does that feel like? It's kitties!
That's for Agnes. Kitty ribbon for Agnes.
Well, that one's in. Agnes, you are famous now. You go around Leicester City, love.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of pets, animals, and different things represented in it. Yes.
I wonder what would represent recovery from addiction.
Now the thing is as well, colour. I mean, the colour therapy. I have looked into this a little bit, but at the moment I'm a bit rusty on stuff. I know that certain colours can signify things. So, for example, I know that green very often is used for recovery because it's new growth, it's new life. A lot of people would go for yellows for optimism. I don't know, but recovery. I mean,
green was in my head, funnily enough. But
green, right? Because I've got all kinds of things. In fact, I think I have here. This is a green one that is. I don't know if you can see. It's got flowers and leaves on it. So that is, the idea of new growth.
Yeah.
It's there.
What would you choose, Aneesh?
I would definitely choose zebras because my business is zebra coaching.
And right on the top of the bag, this huge bag, this huge pile of ribbons, is one with.
Oh my life! Literally, you are a marvel, Claire.
It's life, isn't it? Now that is such a beautiful way to start a section of the scarf. So that nice green one, the one with the zebras. There's all kinds of other animals on here, and all of them.
I don't mind sharing with the others.
Celebrating, and then we'll put Agnes in there. I think actually I quite like the idea that we're celebrating the irrepressible human spirit, and yet 2 out of the 3 ribbons are concerning animals.
And they are irrepressible.
Absolutely, and that is amazing. So here we go. That's it. I've got it ready to start. So I will just cast it on now. Whoopsie daisy.
I'm amazed.
So there we go. That's the first stitch. It's underway. There
Fantastic.
You go. I shall keep you updated of the progress of it.
Do.
Yes.
David, we say it, we're back, and as usual we say, don't we wish that we had a lot more time? I love the fact that Claire is knitting us out. But David, while Claire's knitting us out, do your thing and talk us out, my love.
I am absolutely astounded by that. What a way to come back. It's absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much, Claire. And thank you all, everyone else, for being with us. We've got to come back and see where this is going.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you don't mind, Claire, it's been an absolute pleasure.
I mean, I am just so grateful to you. I'm so delighted. I'm so honoured that you asked me to be a part of this, because I think, you know, what you're doing with this is just absolutely amazing. And, you know, it is just, it is the irrepressible human spirit, you know.
How does one get to join in as a parting shot? I think we need to know.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so I am primarily on Twitter and Instagram as Community Harmony Scarf, or the Community Harmony Scarf. I that's probably the best way to get me.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. And we will have that in the information below as well, everybody. And you know what? Anybody that views this show regularly, get that knitting started, everybody. Let's get Claire to wrap this around Leicester City.
Yeah, and then the whole world. The whole world.
Absolutely.
More of the world. Yeah.
And definitely the Eiffel Tower. Right.
Oh, yes. Definitely.
Definitely. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, thank you.